What happened to Suzanne Morphew? We're now learning of an affair, worried text messages to friends, and a gun held to her head.
The new details revealed in court today as her husband faces his first hearing for her murder.
And is it working?
We know what works.
Denver police are targeting crime hotspots after more than a dozen people were shot this weekend alone.
And healthcare workers rally against hospital vaccine mandates.
We've done and advocated for our patients, and it's time to advocate for ourselves.
But hospitals are standing firm.
We did go through the termination process.
And first tonight, it has been more than 15 months since Suzanne Morphew was last seen. Her husband, Barry, is accused of murdering her. During his preliminary hearing today, we learned so many new details about their marriage and the case.
And some key moments for you today. We learned Suzanne was having an affair. We learned their daughter said Barry at one time held a gun to Suzanne's head, and that Suzanne was texting her friends saying she feared for her safety.
Oh, and we learned Suzanne had a spy pen. Denver7's Russell Haythorne was in the courtroom today and is breaking down everything we learned today live in Chaffee County.
All right, so Russell, family members obviously upset hearing some of the specifics here in the case.
Yeah, Shannon, both of the couple's young adult daughters were sitting in the courtroom today, and at one point, Barry Morphew turned around and whispered to them, "I miss you guys." Both of those daughters cried multiple times in court today. We have some video to show you. Barry Morphew is charged with killing his wife and disposing of her body, even though Suzanne's body was never found. We learned Suzanne was having an affair, as you mentioned, with a man named Jeff Libler from Michigan, and the two of them met up multiple times in multiple states over the course of 2 years. Suzanne's friend, Sheila, bought a spy pen that records audio in an effort to catch Barry in an affair, but the audio instead revealed her own affair to investigators. We also learned investigators never found any blood or trace evidence in the Morphew home, even though they searched that home for 10 straight days. They also found no evidence in Barry's truck. The defense also introduced the idea of an alternate suspect. DNA found on the glove box of Suzanne's Range Rover that did not match Barry's, but came back with a partial profile matching 3 men who were involved in a sexual assault. We didn't get any other details about that today. And finally, late this afternoon, the defense argued that perhaps Suzanne disappeared on her own. She talked about moving to Ecuador with her lover, and they suggested that perhaps she did that on her own, that she went down there to teach language school, and that she simply wanted a better life for herself, and so she decided to go out on her own. We're of course learning a whole lot of new details about this case. They're expecting another day of testimony tomorrow here in Salida, and we will of course bring you the developments as we continue to learn about them. For now, we're live in Salida. Russell Haythorne, back to you guys.
Russell, thank you. And our Denver7 digital team has been working with Russell and also listening in on today's proceedings. And you can read the full log of everything said from prosecution and defense right now on thedenverchannel.com.
It was yet another violent weekend in Denver. From Friday to Sunday, 13 people were shot in Denver alone. Also, police say 2 people involved in 2 separate shootings near Coors Field and Civic Center Park were bystanders. Despite this weekend's violence, Denver police say their new focus on targeting the city's hotspots for crime is working. Today, Chief Paul Pazin updated city council leaders saying the community-based approach announced this summer is helping weed out violent crime spots.
There are flare-ups in certain areas, then we shift our resources. And we did shift our resources. We have shifted our resources.
The 5 target areas make up less than 2% of Denver, but they account for nearly half of the city's violent crimes in 2020. The police chief is expected to update city council on the program again by the fall.
Louisville police have arrested 2 men they believe set one of their police cruisers on fire. Police say 35-year-old Derek Allison and 34-year-old Johnny Holden intentionally set the car on fire last month while it was parked at the Grandview apartment complex. Now, a week later, police were called to the same complex for a dumpster fire. And during that investigation, they say they found a stolen equipment bag from the cruiser and then connected that to Allison and Holden. Both are facing a range of charges, including second-degree arson.
Well, if you looked up at all today or even this weekend, the skies are grim, not the bright blue skies we are so accustomed to in Colorado. The unhealthy air quality conditions are all across our state.
Wildfire smoke is traveling more than 1,000 miles from California and, well, it's finding a new home right here in Denver. In fact, this weekend, Denver had the worst air quality of any major city in the world. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson now.
And Mike, we usually issue weather action days for heat, storms, blizzards. Now it's all about the air quality.
And it really is a problem, not only for people that have respiratory or heart problems, but also for folks that are perfectly healthy. The Broncos, case in point, gifted athletes, they held their practice inside over the weekend rather than outdoors. This is the current smoke map. It gets a little worse even tomorrow. So we're going to hang on to that Denver Weather Action Day through tomorrow afternoon at least. Now, there's a little bit of improvement Wednesday, but it's not much. The entire state is covered in poor air quality advisories for either the smoke particles from the wildfires or, in addition, along the Front Range, the low-level ozone. Now, ozone's invisible. It's caused by the gases that come out of the exhaust pipes of cars and trucks interacting with the hot temperatures, the sunlight, but it's also a lung irritant, so you want to take it really easy. We don't have much in the way of storms to cool anything off. We hit 98 today, which is tied for the record for this date, which was set just last year. And that's what it looks like outside. So the poor air quality continues. Avoid outdoor exercise and try and avoid using gas-powered outdoor things like trimmers, lawnmowers, especially during the heat of the day. It's hot and dry through the week, so you might want to just give your lawn the week off and not even mow it this week. It'll be okay. More details coming up in about 15 minutes.
Good to have Mike's permission for that. That's very nice. And it was under those smoky skies that thousands of Colorado students returned to school.
Douglas County, Bennett, Gilpin school districts all started the school year today. And summer's also coming to a close for the other major Denver metro districts. Adams 14 starts tomorrow. Brighton 27J and Weld RE4 are both on Wednesday. Aurora, Inglewood, Littleton, and several others begin Thursday. Jefferson County will go back next Tuesday, and Denver Public Schools start on the 23rd.
And Douglas County students do not have to wear masks indoors. But some parents we spoke with were hesitant about this policy, so they're sending their children to school with masks.
I was looking at some of the comments that were made by the teachers. They are not required to wear the masks, but it is still an option. So I definitely looked into just getting him some masks.
And Douglas County schools are in the minority. A majority of Colorado students will be returning to class with masks. And COVID-19 cases continue to climb in Colorado. Look at these numbers. This is over the past 3 days combined. Colorado added another 2,700 new COVID cases total, and nearly 100 more people have been hospitalized over that period.
And despite the numbers, more than a dozen healthcare workers stood outside UC Health's Aurora campus today to protest vaccine mandates. UC Health is among the largest healthcare groups in Colorado requiring their workers get vaccinated or they could lose their job. Denver7's Patrick Perez has more.
We do not consent! We do not consent!
These healthcare workers want people to know they do not want the COVID-19 vaccine.
We've done and advocated for our patients, and it's time to advocate for ourselves.
This UC Health nurse is hoping to get a religious exemption by October 1st. That's when the hospital system will begin disciplining, even firing workers who are not vaccinated against the disease.
It doesn't have anything really to do with the vaccine itself. It's about, being told by your employer that you don't have the right to your own body. And that's wrong.
As of Monday, at least 90% of UC Health's employees were vaccinated. Dr. Michelle Barron, Senior Director of Infection Prevention, expects that number to rise to 99% by the October deadline.
Obviously, the goal is 100%, and it'll probably be like 99% because of the exemptions potentially in there.
Requiring healthcare workers to get vaccines isn't anything new. In recent years, Barron says workers statewide had to get the flu shot. But even then, people put their body over their job.
We did go through the termination process. Luckily, there wasn't that many. It was under 10 people at that time, but we still did this.
My body, my choice!
Kinley Queen Thompson, an LPN at Vivage, says she's not anti-vax.
I'm 35 years old. I have young children at home that I need to take care of and be there for.
Even if the vaccines get the full FDA stamp of approval, she still won't get it.
They're trying to coerce us into doing it.
Dr. Barron says that final approval won't change much.
I don't think the FDA stamp of approval would have changed my mind in terms of what the safety data has already shown us, that it is safe, it is highly effective, and it is the way we are going to get ourselves out of this pandemic.
As the deadline approaches, the remaining unvaccinated UC Health workers have just 8 weeks to get the shots, ask for an exemption, or risk losing their jobs. Patrick Perez, Denver7.
Also new tonight, the Pentagon will require all active duty troops to get the COVID-19 vaccine by mid-September, pending full FDA approval. Officials are now asking the president's approval of the plan. The requirement could come earlier than mid-September. One big misunderstanding.
Here's the 1-0. It's 2-0, and here's on Ben. The last thing he knows.
The Rockies clear up what exactly was heard at Coors Field that had social media and fans fuming.
And Colorado requesting millions of dollars to help clean up the mudslide mess on I-70.
We need to do to get the road open as fast as we possibly can.
Show your ID and your vaccine card.
We thought this was probably the most reasonable approach. I know that when I come here that I'm going to be safe.
A majority of LGBTQ bars in Denver are banding together to keep customers and staffers safe.